case you're not able to feed a variety of these protein sources. So I think the protein part is covered here. And if you have any questions about protein sources and all, in the end, we will take it. Then comes, yeah, fats. Fats are really very essential. And what I have seen is in home cooked diets, people really don't sort of pay attention to fats, or they think feeding coconut oil is enough fat for the diet. But coconut oil, which is a saturated fat, is not actually an essential fatty acid. So essential fatty acid is something that your dog's body endogenously cannot produce. So inside the body, they cannot produce these fatty acids. So what they need to do is you need to feed them exogenously, like through the food, right? So that is why these micronutrients and macronutrients are termed as essential, because your dog's body cannot produce it by its own. So it needs to be fed through the food. Fats, two kinds of fats are essential, omega-6 and omega-3. And I'm sure everybody has heard about omega-6 and omega-3. Omega-6 is more like the pathway is more inflammatory, and omega-3 is anti-inflammatory. And both are needed in the diet. You need inflammation also to a certain extent, and then you need anti-inflammation also. And these two needs to be in a ratio. So for some diets, it is like 2:1 ratio. For some, it will go up to 5:1. So 5 being the omega-6. But in vegetarian diet, one good thing is that you can actually balance omega-6 and 3 very effectively, which is not possible in meat-based diets. For meat-based diets, the omega-6 are very high. But in vegetarian diets, you can do a very good mix. So I'll tell you what to feed for omega-6. If you're feeding lentils and paneer, it already has a little bit of omega-6, right? But omega-6 is also needed for healthy skin barrier, just like omega-3. So there are two sources, and people feed hemp seed oil a lot, which is good. It's a good source of omega-6. But what you can do is you can incorporate wheat germ oil instead of hemp seed oil, because wheat germ oil also has vitamin E into it. So at least that one vitamin is covered along with this fatty acid, right? So feed a wheat germ oil. So that will take care of the vitamin 6, omega-6, and then go to omega-3. Now, omega-3 is something that is very confusing for a lot of people, because people think that feeding flaxseed oil is enough to cover omega-3, but that is not true. When you feed flaxseed oil, that will only cover the first part of omega-3, that is alpha-linolenic acid, right? It is called ALA. It will only cover ALA. What about EPA and DHA? The actual anti-inflammatory effect that happens in your dog's body is actually created by DHA and none of the other fatty acids. And most of the fatty acid that I see missing in a dog's diet is DHA. And home cooked meals, of course, omega-6 is also missing in so many dog's diet. But DHA is particularly something you need to focus on, because especially for puppies, because in their growing age, they will need to build a healthy skin barrier. If you do not focus on the healthy skin barrier while they are growing up, then eventually once they are adult dogs, then they will not have a healthy skin and coat. Their skin and coat will be flaky. They will have mood disorders. It will affect their heart. It will affect the cognition, like the brain also. So DHA is something that is the most important fatty acid. The best source of EPA and DHA for dogs is fish oil for vegetarian dogs. Some people are not okay with fish oil, but I would still insist that this is an essential fatty acid without which your dog will have a lot of issues like joint issues and heart issues and poor growth and even skeletal deformities and all. So just go with the fish oil. Because other sources, there are no vegetarian sources for DHA and EPA. And there is one seaweed algal oil which you can feed, but that is not available in India. So I always insist for people to feed a fish oil, which will cover omega-3. And then in omega-6, you have wheat germ oil plus vitamin E also. So your essential fatty acids are basically covered. Now, if you want some days to rotate it with coconut oil, that is fine, but keep the coconut oil limited in the diet. So yes, that's fat. Now, if your dog has like protein deficiency or if your dog has fat deficiency, there are some clear-cut signs. the first thing that you will see is poor skin and coat health. That's because the protein that you're feeding your dog, almost more than 50% of it will be utilized in the skin and coat health, like literally in their hair and fur. So more than 60%. So if you're not feeding enough protein to your dog or enough fats to your dog, then that will like completely reflect in their skin and coat. So that is one of the signs. If you think your dog's coat is not as healthy as before, or if it is dull, or if it is brittle, or if there's dandruff and it's flaky, then this is something that you need to focus on. You can add these oils, and then you can focus on building more protein in your dog's diet. So that was proteins and fats.